Diane, I'm listening to a podcast, Black Lodge Trivia Night. I've never heard so many game aspirations in my life.
All right, welcome to Black Lodge Trivia Night. This is Art, and we are back tonight with another hostile solo session. As you can see, we are down to Matt and Patrick. They are attending the college football championship game in the next couple days. I like college football. I actually attended the University of Miami. So it would have been nice to have been asked, but I was not, and that's what we're working with. So you're stuck with me again on another hostile solo session. As I said, if you remember last time, we boarded the West Alliance. We sort of did that like middle outward scene resolution mechanic that this game has, where you sort of do a couple of quick dice rolls and then sort of expand on what happens from there. And what we determined was that there were two survivors, an engineer and a loader on the DSM Deep Space Miner West Alliance. JM managed to get over on board and stabilize the ship. It was sort of in an uncontrolled, like, three-dimensional spin. And everything seemed to be going okay. They got the two survivors into sickbay. And then Doc Brown started to realize that the wounds on the engineer, did I say a miner, as an engineer and a loader, looked like they might have been from an attack instead of from something involved with, the ship in disrepair and spinning. And as she started to piece that together, the loader stood up and basically said, like, "Why did you save us?" Grabbed a scalpel and attacked. So I'm coming in a little hot, as always, so I'm not 100% sure. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in the book, because I'm not 100% sure how I want to resolve this. The obvious way is combat, which there is, as you can see here, a combat section. Who sees who and what range? We don't need to roll for the range. You could roll if you wanted to, but this encounter is going to definitely be short range. I'm going to say the loader gets initiative. You know what? Let's switch to sickbay. Which, I'm coming in so hot, like, I intended to get pictures for these two guys, and I did not. So let me see if I've got crew, ships, no. Mechanics, no. So what we basically need is I'm going to make a folder NPCs. What we're going to do is we're going to create two actors. We're going to call this guy Loader. And we're going to call the other guy Engineer. Okay, so they're both here in sickbay with Doc Brown. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Okay. See how long my voice holds out. So yeah, the loader is going to attack. So let's just victim of the ambush. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to give everybody, let's see. Okay, who sees who, what range? Winning initiative means a group has a free combat round of action. If both see each other, roll 1d6 with the characters going first each round on a 4. Okay. So basically, I think we're supposed to roll 1d6. If it's 4 or higher, the characters go first, which is, having just played like a old school essential session, that's kind of how it works there. But we're going to give a +3 to the loader, a -3 to Doc Brown because she's the victim of an ambush. So here's Doc Brown. Is that working? 1d6 -3. It's gonna be a 0, and the other guy can't lose. 5. So we're gonna get the loader's gonna go first, and we're gonna do like a hand-to-hand attack. Got daggers and knives, inflict 2d6 points of damage, so that's what we're going to be working with. So we're going to roll an 8 or higher to succeed. And this is kind of how it works, right? We'll just do like a dex check. Let's see if there's any modifiers we need to take into account. Nothing for the range band. We'll make these guys just experienced so they have a typical skill level of 0. So it wouldn't add anything to the roll. I'm just curious. Let me just see if there's a... I'm sure there is. Let me just see. It's an item. Probably be here. Hostile solo items. Skills. Brawling. But let's see if there's like a melee skill. Heavy weapons. Maybe it's just brawling. Fist, knives, blunt. Yeah, okay. So it's a skill of 0, so we're going to give him that. So let's roll it. So he hits on an 8 or higher. Rolls a 9, so that's a sum effect 1. So let's see, stances. We're going to say they are in an offensive stance. He's definitely going all out. Wounds. I want to see what a resolution. Task resolution. I want to see what +1 does. I think that does an extra point of damage. So I think the damage roll would be 2d6 +1. I think that's what that means. That's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to say it's a 2d6 +1 for damage. Oof. 12 points of damage on Doc Brown. So I think the way damage works... Is she wearing any armor? I don't think she would be. So let's just double check how damage works. Wounds. Armor has an armor value. Okay. What is left is applied to the character's characteristic points as injuries start with endurance. So her endurance is going to... Woof, only 3? Okay. So she's going to take 3 points of damage there. And then the other 9 points are going to... What happens next? I think it goes to strength. She's wounded. Then it goes to dexterity. So that's going to be 6 points. Let's see. When that's reduced to 0, she's incapacitated. Should they receive more points than they're going to... So we're going to lose 3. Oh, she's almost dead. So she goes down... she loses 1 more point of strength. She's dead. So let's mark her as... incapacitated, dead, unconscious. That's good enough. Okay. Huh. So yeah, so the loader gets the jump, attacks Doc, knocks her basically down almost to death. Tom's not there. Now here's the question. Does the loader notice that he hasn't completely killed her off? I'm going to say he's in a bit of a frenzy. So on a 1 through 4, he moves on. On a 5 or 6, he finishes her off. Three. Okay. So Doc's left for dead. And let's say the engineer is also sort of somewhat incapacitated from their injuries. And so we have 2 people in sickbay incapacitated. Doc Brown's in bad shape. The loader makes their way to the door. And it's going to drive me a little nuts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to configure, no, not configure sheet. I want to go to the token and I want to turn on, there's a way to shut off automatic rotation. Lock artwork rotation. So what I'm also going to do is I'm going to go to the loader's prototype token, just because I'll forget at some point. Okay. There we go. And the loader ends up going into the ship. Now what we need to do is we need to go to the DSF Noctua. We're going to bring the loader onto the... Where's the sick bay? Med bay. There we go. So the loader's there. We're going to bring Doc Brown... Doc Brown's in med bay, and the engineer's in med bay. So we got... Now the question is, where's everybody else? JM is the pilot, obviously, but he was just over the other ship. So let's say he's coming into an airlock. We'll pick an airlock. We'll do this one here, the airlock. JM there. Okay. Tom was in the bridge. He was sort of coordinating a little bit. He was taking commands from JM to separate the ship. So now the question is, who is where? We need Zhang Mei. Mei is the big one. Where would she be? She might be near... Let's say she's here. We're going to put her in the meeting room. And the only reason why is because, you know, maybe she had sort of helped get the people into the sick bay and then left and was turning around to do something else. So maybe she was on her way back somewhere. Navigator would probably be in the bridge as well. Well, she was coming over from the other side, though. Right? Everybody went over there. Let's have her in the bridge as well. Sensor operator. See, my fear is I'm just going to put everybody in the bridge, and I don't really want that. JM's coming back. Engineer. Where would the engineer be? Maybe the engineer is checking. Maybe that's where Dell and engineering would be. Dea. Maybe they would be checking on stuff. Drives, elevator, airlock, shuttle hangar, cargo, parts. Just because they want to check everything for damage, like, did anything happen while they were coupled with the ship? You know, like, so they'll be checking over the place. So let's have engineering in... down here by the drives. We'll put our deck down, and then we'll have sensor operator Delios. I feel like somewhere I'm supposed to have like a mainframe. I don't have that kind of thing. So let's you know what? I don't have something here. So let's make this a mainframe. Sort of like Mother in Alien. So let's do that. Let me do this. Let me copy. Oh, nope. Been using a Mac a lot recently, so I'm hitting the wrong keys. Okay, so let's change this to mainframe. Okay. So I think we've got everything marked out. I think that's the whole crew. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We got the 2 engineers. Okay, so that's where everybody is. Doc Brown goes down. Now, here's the question, though. Would the ship have some kind of automated system where, like, your biometrics are plugged into sort of like the network? I'll say 1, 2, 3, yes. 4, 5, 6, no. 6, no. Okay, so we're not working with that kind of tech. So it's going to go unnoticed for a while that Doc Brown is down. Engineer's down. So the loader is going to go one of two ways. Either basically north or south. We'll do, again, a 50-50. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 4, 5, 6 is north. 1. So they go south to the elevator. They don't know the lay of the land. They probably have some idea, though, how a ship works. So they probably know that if they get towards the back of the ship, they're going to get towards things like the drives. So yeah, let's do that. Let's have the loader continue to make their way down. So on a roll of 1, somebody happens to wander to ask a question of Doc Brown. On anything else, it continues to go unnoticed. 3. Okay. So people are still doing their thing. I guess May would have the most reasonable chance, but not yet. You know, like, there's no reason to assume everything's gone south that quickly. So the loader goes there. So here's the thing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do another, like, ask the die, and it's going to be like a 1, 2, there's some sabotage going on. 3, 4, 5, 6 is that it's not quite possible from this location. So 1 or 2 means the sabotage can commence. Okay. So with some frustration, the loader can't quite work out how to blow up the ship from this particular spot in the hull. And we're going to do another check to see if anybody notices. It's on a 1. 2. Part of me was thinking maybe like every time I should elevate that by 1. So the first time's a 1, second time's 1, 2. But again, like, I don't know if there would be some reason to just wander in there for no... So the escalating die infers a sense of urgency, which I don't know if there would be to get to sick bay, med bay, whatever. Okay. So the loader decides he's going to take the elevator. And I'm going to say the loader still has the scalpel. And maybe the loader is looking for tools or something to do whatever it's going to do. So now, again, it can go up or it can go down. If it goes up, we go left, down, right. So again, 1, 2, 3, up, 4, 5, 6, right, 4. So he goes here. And what we're going to do is we're going to have the loader eventually make their way to the parts store. So now the loader is going to definitely have what they need to start doing some damage. Maybe there's like some like small time explosives or something like that. That you might need to like pop a hatch in an emergency. Something, you know, there, or like a blowtorch, something that can do some real damage to the hull of the ship. So the question is, where would this person want to go to do that? Here's something that, you know, I don't know if you're noticing. We lose music sometimes, and I don't know why. Yeah, it just kicks back in. Not sure why. Like if I pause it. Yeah, I don't know why. But yeah, for some reason when the track started over, it just stopped playing there for a second. Anyway, not important, but... yeah, so... The loader's got what they need. Where are they going to go? Like, if they just want to blow a hole in the ship, they can go anywhere. If they're trying to maybe make the drives, which could be of a nuclear persuasion, light up, that might be different. So, do they have the... So basically, with a like a normal NPC, all the stats are 7. So it's not like they're preternaturally intelligent to know how to make a nuclear engine explode. But let's give them a chance on how to do that. On a 1, they have the know-how. They do. Okay. All right. So they make their way to the loader. The loader makes the way to this section of the drives and starts to monkey around. But what's going to happen here is that's going to start sending off signals, because the ship's definitely going to have like temperature readings or some kind of warning system that's going to let them know that there's something about the drives that's going out of parameter. And as soon as that happens, everything lights up. Tom in the bridge, not gonna lie, is immediately in over his head. Trying to like, okay, what do we do? Okay. What's going on? I don't understand. What are the sensors, completely freezing up, and has truly met his match in terms of his nepotistic inexperience getting him to where he is. May, as soon as she hears that, she's, Johnny on the spot. She, blip, 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 hits the display there in the meeting room, sees that something's going on with the drives on the lower deck, and realizes where everybody, there's nobody that would be down there. And so she runs to sickbay and pops her head in and sees Doc Brown bleeding on the floor, sees the other engineer probably unconscious on a table, and runs over to the ship's intercom system and screams, "Somebody get down here. Somebody get to sickbay and help Doc Brown. I'm going to go check on the drives." And then she's like, "Dell, meet me in the lower deck drive section." JM, she starts being the one who takes control. JM, get to the bridge, get ready to, do what we have to do. I'm not sure what's going on. Shut down the engines if you have to. Dell, meet me in the drives. Dea, get ready, for shutting down like the doors if like you sense like an atmospheric breach. Lock us in, whatever you need to do, get that ready. Get to where you need to go to do that. So they all she runs to the mainframe, say, to have best control over the ship electronically. Dell, he hops in the elevator and makes his way down. May makes her way down as well. And while that's happening, let's just see if there are any mechanics for anything that I've just done. What I think should be happening is now we might be doing another scene resolution. But at the same time, there's probably going to be some combat. So I'm not sure. Okay, so let's make a plan. The plan is sort of what we were just saying. Dell, May, they get to the drives and try and stop the person from doing what they're going to do. Let's have... Boom, boom, boom. I'm going to pop that out just for a second. Let's have Olivia run to medbay to try and do some kind of first aid. Does she have any first aid? She doesn't. Does Tom? No. Who does? I thought a couple people had. I thought I had 2. Oh, it's Dell. Okay. Anybody else? Okay. So maybe let's flip that around. Dell's going to go try and help her out. Maybe May just takes care of it. I think it would have to be Olivia. That's going to be backup. So what would they have? She's got some weapons, so she's ready to go. What about Olivia? What do you have? An auto pistol. Okay. So she sort of makes her way. You know, here's the thing, though. May's going to have her weapon. She's security. She's like, Olivia, get your kit and be ready to back me up. So let's say instead of coming down to this elevator, May came here to the center elevator. Olivia went up to the stateroom block, grabbed her sidearm, and met May there. So that's that part of the plan. Adea went to the mainframe. She's ready to shut down the entire atmosphere and vent the place if anything should happen, like a fire breaks out or if they need to do something drastic. Shut down the JM's ready to head to the bridge and shut down the engines, anything like that he needs to do. Tom is a gibbering mess who still somehow able to convince himself he's a little bit in control. And so I think that's the plan. So then that's the plan, and they're going to try and stop the loader before he can do significant damage to the ship. So that's that. That's the plan. So now, is the plan shaky, solid, or foolproof? I'm going to say it's shaky. Quite a few things could go wrong. And it's dangerous. There's a chance of physical injury, even death if things go wrong. So we need a 10 or higher. Consequences of what happened. Die rolls made and failures. Okay, so there's a way to roll 2d6 or exceed the required. Apply +1 for each character that brings a significant skill or a successful roll of that skill to the scene. +1 for the use of a crucial piece of kit or a great asset. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to do a couple of things, because part of this scene is like, does Doc Brown survive? Does the ship get messed up? So what we're going to do first is we're going to do a medical check. Now, they are in a med bay, so I'm going to give them advantage, because they're going to have something there that they need to help them out. I don't know if advantage is the right way to do it, but that's fine. Okay. So we're not going to get a bonus from that. Okay. Adea is going to do an engineering check to be ready on her front. That's one success. JM's going to do a... Was it a pilot check? It's not going to help. So we've got a +1 from Adea. We're going to give a -1 because Tom is really unsuited to the task. That's one of the modifiers. You know, his thing is leadership, but he's unsuited to the mission. So we're just going to give him a -1. So far we're rolling flat. May is going to do... What's her skill? Would it be recon to sort of figure out what's going on, or would it be tactics? Does recon have a description? Silent moving, hiding, scouting out. Yeah, let's have her do a recon test. Okay, so we're back up to a +1. That's a hell... I'm going to make that a +2 because the effect is so much. And what's Olivia got? What does a security check do? Yeah. Let's see if security somehow can come into play. Because this is a security breach of sorts. Wow. I'm going to give that another +1. So it's a +3 total. That's the maximum you can get. So now we go back to the procedure and we roll a 2d6 with a +3. We're trying to beat a 10. See if they do it. They're not going to do it. Okay. So what happened? Dice roll is made. The mission is either a success or a failure, but there's more to it. Okay. So whether or not the mission succeeded or failed, something bad happened along the way. Often this is a piece of bad luck. Okay, so let's so the mission failed. So let's see if we can figure this out. Okay. So whether or not the mission succeeded or failed, something bad happens. Try rolling 2d6 to come up with a random disaster. +2 if it was a success. It was not. So we're just going to do a 2d6 on this table here. And go from there. 11. Okay. It's actually not that bad. So here's what I'm going to have happen. The plan failed. So I'm gonna do a couple things. So it says it took 4 times longer than it should have. So what that means is May and Olivia eventually succeed in killing the loader. That's first and foremost. So the loader is going to be dead. But it takes 4 times as long as it should. So maybe they get involved in some kind of encounter, and the loader is able to really damage the drives. So some damage happens to the drives. Dell failed to help out with the medical check. So the question is, does Doc Brown die? Does Doc Brown die? I'm going to say on a 1, yes. Okay. So Doc Brown is in bad shape. Dell didn't get her back on her feet, but he didn't kill her. The loader is incapacitated, killed. Let's say actually on a 6, incapacitated, 1 through 5, killed. 6 incapacitated. Oh, okay. So let's undo that. So they're able to secure... Where would they put him? Right now, he's going in cargo. And he's tied up there. So Tom's like, oh my god, all right, good. Well done, everybody. Is everybody okay? Clearly not everyone's okay. Doc Brown is near death. But Tom is trying to reassert control of the situation, and it's clumsy at best. And finally, he's like, okay. And then JM goes, can we get a status check around the ship, please? And May and Olivia are like, good to go. Prisoner secured in Cargo Bay 1. Dell goes, Med Bay here. Doc Brown's in rough shape, but she's holding on for a moment. The other rescued crew member is incapacitated, but I'm establishing security procedures here in Med Bay. So Dell starts to lock down the engineer because, who knows? I think above the table we know the engineer might not have been in on it. Doc Brown was starting to suspect that the engineer was attacked. But the rest of them don't know that. So they're going to start locking down the engineer in sickbay. JM, he's starting to, test the controls and stuff like that. And he goes, Adea, can you give me a readout on, lower deck drive bay? And Adea's in the mainframe. And she's going to do... Well, in electronics. It's mechanical. I mean, she's using a computer to do it, but it's really a mechanical check. So 9, which is an effective 1, you need an 8 or better to succeed. She looks it over and she's like, shit. All right, look. The drives are, I don't know what the guy did. I'm going to need to take a look at it, but, right now we need to shut the drives down. Keep on life support power levels, but otherwise let's shut it down. Let's take them offline because I'm not exactly sure what happened and I don't want to run the engines, have some weak spot blow, and God only knows what happens from there. So Tom's like, yeah, I mean that makes sense, right? Like that's what we should be doing. And Jam's like, yeah, shutting down a day, I got it. And he starts going through the procedures to shut down the engines, and they start sort of dead floating in space. So, okay. So May is going to be up here. Olivia's up here. They're watching the loader. Day is going to start making her way over to the drives. And then as soon as everything's sort of locked down and in place, JM, who's been more in charge than Tom by a mile, he's like, Del, what's going on with the prisoner in medbay? And Del's like, the other prisoner is fully secured. We're ready to go. And Jam's like, everyone, let's meet in Cargo 1. And Del, why don't you stick with Doc Brown in case, anything goes wrong? Keep an eye on her. And Del's like, will do. That makes sense, And so JM starts heading down, and Tom's like, oh, okay, yeah, that sounds good. Where are we going? And he's like, we're going down to Cargo 1. So everybody makes their way to Cargo 1. Do I have a cargo? Yeah. So let's get everybody on board here. Got Adea, got JM, Olivia, Tom, and May. I don't know what that was about, but there we go. So they all make their way there, and the loader's there. And so this is the first time, there's probably been radio chatter during the scene resolution. I feel like during scene resolutions, there should be an additional drama point. Let me just double check that really quickly. I'm going to bring this back in. Building a plot. Looming crisis, was it part of there? Select a crew, no. Looming crisis, was it part of here? Tracking drama points. Drama points are used to track an escalation in tension and serve as a positive die modifier to a frequent bump. Okay, so we did the scene resolution. We're currently at 3 drama points. I think I've been pretty good about that. What I haven't been good about is keeping the log. I don't know what the actual date is. I could probably work backwards and figure it out if I watch the sessions again, but I think we're up to 4 drama points. So let's see when we check. Okay, immediately after a drama point is gained, make a 2d6 roll. So it's going to be a 2d6 plus 4. Woof. Okay, we got a 15. So drama's going to happen. So we got a couple of different types of crises. I'm going to roll it, but there's a couple of that we're not going to bother. I'm just curious. If we were to do the procedure, 4 would be a computer goes crazy. Let's keep that in our back pocket. Let's definitely keep that in our back pocket. Because we got a computer crisis, works best on board a starship. So what we're going to do Okay, let's keep that in our back pocket. I'm going to pop that out for now. Get it out of the way. So we've got these 5 here in the cargo bay. And so, so this is the first time they're seeing each other in person. Let's have like Olivia and May are both kind of beat up a little bit. Maybe one of them's got like a minor flesh wound from the scalpel or a wrench or something. And the loader is taking a couple of rounds from May's handgun. But he's stable enough without medical attention. He'll probably get into some pretty bad shape if he's not attended to at some point, but they're not too concerned with that. So JM walks in and Tom's like, okay, all right, let's assess the thing. And JM's like, let's space the fucker. And May's like, got no problem with that. And Adaya, she's been, the whole time, she's been very much like, this, she didn't speak out the first time, so that decision still haunts her. So she knows this is the wrong thing to do, and she might not necessarily disagree with it, but she doesn't know if she should at least say something. That's always her thing, is like, I should speak up, right? I should say something. And so 1 through 3 she does. 6, no, she keeps quiet. But I don't think this is going to be a good kind of, I think this is going to pile on to her things that haunt her. So Tom's like, whoa, wait, what? And Jam's like, yeah, help me get him up. We're going to throw him out the airlock. And May's like, yeah, sure thing. And she starts grabbing him, and Tom's like, whoa, no, hold on. I don't know. I mean, yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I don't think we should just do this. I think maybe we should, I don't know, should we talk about it, or should we put it to a vote? And Jam's like, well, while you guys discuss it, May and I are going to throw him out the airlock. And Tom's like, I don't know. I don't know. So let's see. On a 1, Tom gets a little backbone. No. He gets steamrolled by May and JM. Olivia, what's her... Let's just check in with her. Why do I not have any notes? Info, that's what it would be. She's comically pessimistic and paranoid. She would definitely not want to keep this guy on board, given that sort of paranoid sense to her. So she's just kind of sitting there silent and not in a conflicted way. Adaya, let me add this. Let me add this to here. Will be haunted by not speaking out when loader was spaced. I'm gonna add that there. He's turning into a mess. So Tom is putting up a protest, but it's sort of just a feckless one that really is not landing at all, not impacting in any way. And like I said, just getting steamrolled. So I don't think I have an airlock, but yeah, so basically they take the loader to the airlock and he's kind of half in and out. And he's not totally out of it though, right? He's just kind of delirious and kind of, drooping his head and, snapping back too, but he starts to put together what's happening. And a little fight or flight gets into him and starts to tighten him up and realize, oh shit, I better snap too, or else this is going to go really badly. And so he starts to fight, but he's also wounded. So May and Jam are easily able to Krav Maga his wrist a little bit, throw him into the airlock, punch the button, and the door goes, and he's like, no, and he's banging at the glass. And he's like, no. Please, I promise. And he's not even getting the full sentence out when JM just, without even batting an eye, turns around, punches the button. And for a split second, like May's watching him, like completely cold and impassive. But JM was just like, whatever, like he's taking out the trash and just punches the button. And Tom just freezes. And that expression is sort of mirrored in the expression of the loader, who has a flash of an instant to realize, I'm dead. And so his eyes go wide and he starts to scream, no! And it just stops when the atmosphere goes and he gets sucked out the airlock and blown out into space. And so he's traveling at I don't know how many feet per second from the depressurization. And after a moment, Jam just hits the button again. The airlock closes, repressurizes, re-atmos, whatever you want to say. And Tom, let's add something there to Tom. What we're going to do is we're going to say Tom JM here. He's going to be terrified of JM also angry for taking over in a crisis. And in the reverse, I don't think JM thinks anything of Tom at all. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring this over. JM, Tom. Doesn't think of him at all, but the reverse. That. Okay. All right, so the loader's spaced. Let's get the loader out of here. Tom is just frozen in just terror. And you can almost argue that it's a bit of humanity, right? Like, it's cowardice, but that cowardice is letting him maintain some kind of touch with humanity. And all of a sudden, there's a and like you can hear the like a rumble. Tom's like, what was that? And Day is like, oh shit. And so they run back to the drives. And there's a power surge. So somehow maybe like the drives, something flared up, something shorted out. It sent a power surge. And all of a sudden you hear mainframe offline. Life support systems failing in 30 minutes. And let's fade to black there. So that was, like before I sort of came up with, I don't know what it was on the, let me bring it up. Computer malfunction. So that's what's going to happen there. Because of the damage to the drives, it didn't seem like it was going to be immediately an issue, but something sparked, something gave after a moment and caused, like I said, a power surge that sent sort of a shock to the mainframe and knocked it out, and it went haywire, and it's going to start screwing things up. So, that's where we'll stop for tonight. I'll be honest with you, again, the fascinating thing about this is sort of what I've said before. I have no idea what's going to happen going into things. And there's something really nice about that, right? Because when you're a GM, some of it's a surprise, but not everything is a surprise. You still kind of have the story you want to tell. And so you're excited about those story beats. And as a player, you're excited because you have no idea. But I've always been nervous, and I've said this before, solo GMing, like, won't I know what's going to happen? And the answer is no, I don't. I just let the random tables take the wheel and go where they may, and things develop that make sense. But, I try not to have too heavy of a hand. And when I do that, it's been quite fun. So, yeah. Again, I don't know when we'll get back to this. Again, this is the game that I have ready to go when we can't get the guys together. We were supposed to do something else tonight, and then things really fell apart at the last second. So I like having something like this ready to go, because invariably it's relatively low prep. I want to know the rules, but I don't need to think about the story or have maps planned ahead of time or anything of that nature. So this really does suit those times when you need to plunk something into the lineup. And I'm kind of curious, like, my intention with this is to do like a mission. And my intention is always to come back. Like, I came back to the One Ring at some point. My intention will be to come back to this as well, but kind of curious what else might be interesting to explore in a solo capacity. Looking over my shelf, because I know like some solo modules have come out recently. Some games I already own have solo modules to play with them. And then there's always Ironsworn, which I sort of like not the granddaddy in the oldest sense, but in the maybe weightiest, biggest sense. I don't know. Anyway, we'll see how it goes. Hopefully next week we can get back to some Blade Runner, because that's been a blast as well. I've been really enjoying that. Otherwise, that's been tonight's session. This is Black Lodge Trivia Night. I'm Art. We are a tabletop RPG actual play channel. If you're watching this, you found our YouTube channel. Like and subscribe if that's your thing. If you prefer audio versions of this or any of the discussion podcasts that we have going on here on the channel, search for Black Lodge Trivia Night wherever you get your audio, and we should show up. We've got a Discord if you want to jump in and check that out, where we talk about RPGs and CRPGs. What do we got going on at the moment? It's definitely Lord of the Rings Online. I know things, but some things are sort of in the queue. Lord of the Rings Online, and I think Dark Souls 3 still at the time of this recording for our CRPG business. But yeah, otherwise, hopefully you're looking forward to a great 2026 with a lot of role-playing. We'll get Patrick back, I think, in the not too distant future. So that's going to be really good. Hopefully we get the rotation back up on its feet, and we'll go from there. So thanks again to everybody who checks this out. We genuinely, and I mean this sincerely, we genuinely appreciate it, and hope you're doing well. Take care. The in-session music was provided by Tabletop RPG Music and composed by Ian Fisher. You can find the Patreon at www.patreon.com/tabletop RPG music. That's all one word.